Hey, hello, welcome back. Checkered Shorts, episode number 67. Like all episodes, we're going to start off with a history lesson from Professor Dinwiddie over there. What do we have for the number 67, Brian?
Yeah, number 67 could have gone a couple different ways. Those of you that know I'm a Foyt fan, you know that was his third victory in the 67 500, but I'm going to go a different direction because the Checkered Shorts Past correct crew has a connection here. The number 67 goes with Sarah Fisher. So like to talk about Sarah. Our connection there is that Kelly Landscaping, our number one sponsor of this podcast, works for Sarah and her husband, Andy O'Gara, doing some landscaping, has worked for them, done work for them for several years now. And they are kind of our connection when we go to races. So, but anyway, back to Sarah. Sarah was, she born and raised in Ohio, our sister state for those of us, those Hoosiers that we are. Was an IRL driver, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, up until I think 2010. She finally started to think about hanging it up and started her own racing company or racing team. A key point for those of you that may not know this is she is the person who gave Ed Carpenter and Joseph Newgarden their starts in IndyCar. Her first driver was Ed Carpenter, who now, became her partner with the Sarah Fisher Hartman racing team, became, Hartman or Fisher Hartman Carpenter, and then Ed bought her out. But as a driver, Sarah was very accomplished. Like she started in karts, I think, when she was like 5 years old. That was a racing family, so just kind of became natural. She was the first female to sit on the pole of an IndyCar race. And at the time of her retirement, she was the highest ever finishing female driver. She had a second place finish, only bested by Danica Patrick's victory in Japan that came several years later. So 67 goes out to Sarah Fisher. Thank you for everything you've done for the sport, and especially to our Checkered Shorts team.
Yeah, she was the one that her and Andy sponsored, or not sponsored, but helped Elliot, who we've had on the show, with his program. And then they have their son Danny is moving through the ranks. So definitely somebody to keep your eye out on. He might be late, maybe 12, 13, something like that, if that, but working his way through the ranks. So thank you, Sarah and Andy.
All right, so we're like 5 minutes in, and we haven't even stated the obvious. So we got one extra person here with us on episode number 67, and we're happy to have with us Stephen Scott. Stephen is a student at Franklin College. He's also a member of Lambda Chi Alpha, the Kappa Gamma Chapter. That's where Pat, myself, and Brian all created our brotherhood and long-lasting relationship. And so when I saw that they posted that Stephen had a connection to IndyCar, I was like, we got to get this guy on here, talk to him a little bit. And I don't know, we just thought it'd be a good change up. We're getting to kind of a down part of the season with this big break. And then we're going to have May, which will be exciting, but not post races to talk about quite yet. So we're happy to have Stephen with us. Welcome, Stephen. So first thing I want to do, just to kind of date ourselves, start with Kappa Gamma numbers. So, Stephen, you want to share your Kappa Gamma number?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm Kappa Gamma 954.
Oh, wow.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Should we go in reverse order, count down?
Go for it.
I would be next because I'm the second youngest on this broadcast right now. 724.
All right. And I am Kappa Gamma 661.
Okay.
Kappa Gamma 620. So 620, which
holy cow, we span 300 members.
Yeah,
300 members have come since me. That's wild for a small campus like Franklin College.
I think we're at 972 right now. I think is our highest one.
I mean, people are going to be fighting over the 1,000. They're going to be trying to figure out their alphabet where they fall in line. They're going to be trying to kick someone out of the fraternity so they get the 1,000.
Cool.
That's pretty wild, man, to think that so much has happened. Well, obviously, I think that my 25th class reunion's coming up. So I guess that's part of it too. But yeah, exciting to have you on, Stephen. First, talk about the fraternity. I wanted to talk, so we could share a few things about our fraternity. Yeah. What led you to Lambda Chi at Franklin College?
So I actually didn't rush until the spring of my freshman year, and it was kind of just like it started off as just kind of because my spring class was actually really big. We had, I think, 8 or 9 guys, which I know for people listening doesn't sound big, but for Franklin, that's a lot. Yep. But my current roommate, he's actually the president now, and we just went. They had a rush event, and we were just like, let's do it. I think they were playing spike ball, and we were big into spike ball at that time. So we were like, yeah, let's just go play spike ball. And then a lot of the guys on the track team were also in Lambda. I think like 90% of them. So I already had a lot of friends there. They were like, just come out, at least just see, if you like it. Because I had really never thought about Greek life. Neither one of my parents were in Greek life, and it just wasn't something I was exposed to. But I went to the Rush event, and I just loved it. I mean, the culture, like, it sounds cliche, but, like, we really do have a brotherly culture. And I think not even just, like, this current group we have, but, like, even you three just, still being in touch and things like that shows, like, how much brotherhood plays a part of it.
Yeah, definitely. So one thing we have in common, I also rushed in the spring with a pretty big class, right, Brian? And one thing we don't have in common is the chapter sounds like it's much more fit than the chapter was when I was in it. So
I think we have 32 members. I would say about 20 of which are on the track team. About 10 are on 10. I'd say 8 to 10 are on the soccer team, and then everyone else just regular students. But yeah,
pretty impressive.
We never lost a tug of war during Grizzly Grand Prix. I'll say that.
That was for certain. We had both the offensive and defensive starting line in my tenure on both sides.
Yeah. So cool. Tell us a little bit what your connection with IndyCar is, because what made this such a good idea in my mind to interview you was the three of us have this connection, and then we have potentially this connection with a guy who's in school right now. You said you're a junior, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, junior. Yeah. So Rod Reed, he's the owner of Force Indy and Indy Next. He has a karting program based in Indianapolis called NXG Youth Motorsports. And so that's actually how I got into racing just to begin with. So I started with them when I was about 12 or 13, and I just did all their classes. And then I graduated from that and did their racing series. And then after that, I was like, I still want to give back to the program because they did so much for me. So I came back, worked on their crew for a little bit, and then I believe it was 2019, IndyCar kind of like merged with us because all the events they do, or at least most of the events they do, are at the Speedway, which is really cool. Lot 5, Gate 1 are their main 2 spots. And so we already had that IndyCar connection. And then IndyCar Technology actually reached out and was like, hey, like, we'll give you guys some of the equipment we use for timing and scoring, just, like to kind of like upgrade. Because at the time we had a laser system, which really wasn't as advanced as what we have now. So John Koski, who's the senior director of in technology at IndyCar, my current boss, he came down and kind of like showed me the ropes of how to use the new system. So I did that for a couple of years, and then he was like, hey, I think I was a sophomore in high school at the time. So he was like, hey, next summer, if you want to come and like shadow me or something, that would be great. So I took advantage of that. I shadowed him for I believe it was the Harvest Grand Prix. Was that, because that was the one in the fall, correct?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
So I shadowed him, just kind of, spent the day with him. I actually got to time one of the practice sessions, which was really cool.
Sick.
Using all the IndyCar equipment. And then he was like, you'll be a senior next year. What are your internships looking like? And I was like, well, right now I don't have anything. He's like, do you want to come intern for me? And so that's what I ended up doing. I I only did, I think, 4 races that summer. I did both the Indy races in May, Road America, and then Toronto in July. So those were my 4 races. And then that's how I kind of got my foot in the door, and then I've been with them ever since.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
That's a great story.
Yeah. No, Force Indy, that merger in 19, that would have been when, because I know Roger Penske's been a big proponent of the Force Indy program. And so that, I'm guessing he probably was one of the driving forces behind that merger in 19. So that's really cool that you're part of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, Steven, I assume it's safe to say that you're fast on 2 different types of tracks?
I would say so, yeah.
Nice.
It was actually cool. I got to do, before I got into the tech side of racing, I actually got to do a Skip Barber class in I think it was February of 2021. We were at COTA, and that was really fun. I was definitely too tall to be in the car, but they made it work. Well, yeah, it was a great experience. My dad, he went with me. It was really fun.
That's awesome. I looked into that. I was just actually in Austin and just looked into that, but I couldn't make it work to participate while I was down there. But
yeah, it was really great.
My kids and my wife would have been mad if I would have taken the day to go do that. But that's an awesome experience.
Very cool.
So one thing I often like to ask people, I mean, I think we've shared this before. I work in administration in schools, and so you do a lot of interviewing and things. And one of the things I like to ask is, what really excites you? What gets you excited for life or prospects or whatever? But what is it that burns a fire for you?
Yeah, so definitely motorsports. I think that's like, if I can do anything in life, it would be motorsports related. Which is why I think that kind of is what drove my academic decisions, I guess. So I'm a software engineering major with a data science and cybersecurity minor. And a lot of that was, I still want to be a part of motorsports, even if I can't be the driver.
Sure.
And so I think, especially coming alongside with IndyCar technology, I think that was also a big factor, just like having the professional experience with IndyCar, and then also being able to apply it with, interviews or schoolwork or anything like that is really cool to have. So yeah, I would say besides motorsports, technology, I've really gotten into like a lot of big AI documentaries recently. Running, of course, I love running. Some days more than others, but yeah, but I mean, besides that, like, I don't know, I feel like I'm so busy just with everything in general that what I do is what I enjoy.
Awesome. That's a good life.
What do you run? What events do you run?
I'm on the I'm the 400 runner.
Oh,
so I do that,
really?
And then 4x4.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely grueling, man. That's besides ultra endurance, that's got to be the toughest race.
Yeah, well, so we had a meet last weekend at Manchester, which is up in Fort Wayne. Pouring rain, probably 55 degrees. It was great. But that 400 was brutal. Yeah. Like I'd say the first 150 meters, it was okay because the rain was like to our backs. And then you hit that second curve and it's just all coming in your face. I'm like, it was miserable.
Sure, I bet.
I tell my daughter all the time, I'm like, I was a golfer at Franklin, and you can run for 2 minutes in the rain, but 4 hours is a little different story.
Yeah. That's another thing I forgot.
But it's always miserable.
I've gotten into golf over the last year.
Nice.
So that's been really fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
You might not be able to run a 400 forever, but you'll be able to play golf forever.
I can always go.
Yeah. So one thing with kind of news to us, I didn't know that you went through the driving experience, went through the training. What would be your favorite memory from your time in the seat?
That's a good question. I would probably say, obviously, the F4 experience in COTA. I think about that one a lot.
Yeah.
That, like, it was, I don't know. It's just like you can only explain it so much,
Sure.
And then I think apart from that, I did a 6-hour endurance race in Chicago. What is the track called? It's like a club track in Chicago. But I did a 6-hour endurance race there in 2020. That was really fun. But yeah, one of those two would definitely be my top choices.
That's cool. Very cool.
Very cool. I got a question. If like the timing messes up, does this ever happen?
Yeah. So actually,
like, we're live TV on a Sunday, IndyCar's rolling. And I mean, I want to know my specific times. What do you have a triple backup if lightning strikes the truck?
That actually, I wasn't around when this happened, but I've heard stories that it was either a practice or qualifying session, and somebody kicked out a cable that like was like a mainstream cable, and so they ended up having to red flag the session.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Which is another thing that I
told you to stay off pit road, Pat.
Right. It is a good question. That's a good in-depth.
It's about question. Which is something that I think I wish more people like understood or thought about. I feel like the behind the scenes stuff is still so crucial just to the production of everything.
Yeah, and then the strategy for the drivers and the teams.
Yeah.
I mean, the accuracy has got to be paramount when you're you're trying to stay out and not pit. Somebody's gaining so much time on you every lap. How many laps you got left? What do you have to maintain? Fuel savings, all kinds of things.
Yeah. So one of my most recent favorite memories was we were in Detroit last season, and one of the Carpenter cars called us over the radio. They're like, "We don't have internet." And that, like, their pit stand didn't have any internet. So the only thing that they had was obviously like the headset communication with the driver. So I ran over to the other side because our pit cart is on the driver's right of pit lane.
Yeah, in Detroit.
So I have to go over that big bridge and then onto the other side. And I think they were like down towards pit end. So it was a long ways for me. But I mean, just thinking about like how like crucial that was for them. You know, it ended up being, I think somebody dropped a tire gun on it. And so we use fiber optic cable. So that's all glass. So any punctures or anything like that, you just don't have anything. So I just think like, you know, moments like that, like kind of like it was fun. I felt like a hero. But it's just like crazy to think about like how crucial our role is just for the series.
How big of a team is behind the scenes doing all of this stuff?
So just within IndyCar technology, there's, I'd say maybe 15 to 20 of us.
Okay, cool.
We have John Koski, who's the head of everything. He's like the big guy, man. And then we have our two software engineers they're kind of more with like the competition side of things, but they fall under IndyCar technology. And then we have the techs. So we have 5 track techs, 3 to 4 pit techs, and then we just added fiber techs because it would take us way too long to set up fiber around the tracks. But yeah, so everybody has, you know, specific roles that they play. So I'm one of the pit techs. So I do all of the pit lane maintenance, set up and tear down, and then we also do the paddock. And so we're basically like the middleman between the cars and the teams on pit lane.
So how long does it take to set up, and then how long to break down after a race is over?
So it depends on the track and like when we get there and all that. I would say the average track, let's just say the Indy road course, it takes us, I would say 2.5 to 3 days to set up.
Oh.
Yeah, I would say, because usually the way our travel works, we travel on Mondays, head to the track Tuesday, set up Tuesday to Thursday night, maybe Friday morning, just depending on timing. And a lot of that is just because we have to make sure everything's running. You know, we basically test everything before we set it up so that if there's any broken loops or any fiber that needs to be replaced or anything like that, we know before we set up the whole track. And then we're like, oh, we don't have a connection in turn 1. Yeah. And it's Thursday night, you know, practice on Friday morning. So setup is usually longer just because of like the tiny details that it takes to make sure everything's running. And then tear down, we're usually 6 to 8 hours tops. Like it's definitely it feels like more work, but I think setup is definitely more work. I would say our setup days are usually 8 to 12 hours, which is including a lunch break, so that's nice. Yeah, setup days. And then Thursday, like if we're behind schedule, because like street courses, we have to wait until the street is shut down completely before we can go out and lay some stuff out. So like I know Toronto, well, at least the old course was really rough for us because that long backstretch, they wouldn't get that shut down until like late Thursday night. And so for the track techs, at least, they have to like, stay after hours and get that done because, you have the USF cars on track at 8 in the morning Friday. So just stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I think a lot about back-to-back weekends. Like this year, we started out with 3 races in 3 weeks. We think a lot, as fans of the drivers and teams, and that's stressful for them to get, from place to place. But you're talking about breaking down on a Sunday evening and being at the next place on Monday morning already running cable. That's impressive.
And last year was crazy because I think we had 3 or 4 back-to-backs in a row, and it was a lot. And it's fun, I think if I wouldn't trade it for anything, but it is a lot.
I have a question.
Which races will you be at this year?
So I basically start at, hopefully I can make it to the Grand Prix this year. It just depends on track and all that, but the 500 at the earliest, and then I think everything until DC maybe. I think DC is my last race.
Okay.
Wow.
That's cool.
Right, we'll see you there.
We will catch up with you.
For sure.
We'll catch up with you in Milwaukee.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So like when you get it all set up, do you get to like and test it? Do you get to like how do you know that it works? Like
so
you can hop in an Indy car and be like, no, this thing works. Or?
That would be awesome. No, so you guys know the orange hand that always sits in the pace car.
Oh, okay.
So he's actually a part of our team.
Oh.
So he'll actually attach a transponder to one of the pace cars, and he'll just lap it because we do it every morning. We call them sweeps. But every morning we have to sweep the track and take different lines. So usually he'll probably go around in total. Like if everything's working fine, he'll probably do 5 laps. The first lap is just make sure the system's running. Second lap is driver's left. So he'll just stick to the left side of the track no matter where that is. Second one is straight in the middle. Third one's right side. And then the last couple, he'll actually drive the actual racing line. And that's just, because our loops are pretty long. They're basically the width of the track. So you got to make sure that the car is getting data at any point of that loop. He'll do that every morning. And then we'll also do like a speed run through pit lane. He'll probably go like, depending on the track, he'll go like 60 to 70 miles just to make sure that, all the loops in pit lane are working. But yeah, it's really fun too. I've been in a couple of those. And they're fun. They're really fun.
Cool. Very cool.
That is great. Yeah, so for myself, I got to say this has been one of my more enjoyable episodes. 67 in, to say that's pretty big. Discovered a lot of things. I thought we were definitely scratching the surface just with the fraternity stuff and the IndyCar kind of a connection. The depth and width was not what I was expecting. So that was a lot of fun to learn some of the back end things. I want to wish you a ton of luck.
Man.
That passion keeps driving you and that you have opportunities to pursue that passion in your future.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks for having me. This was like, I actually told the chapter that I was doing this when you guys DM'd me and they were all excited. It was great. So this was really special.
Hey, I got one more question for you.
Yes, sir.
This is a fraternity question.
Okay.
There used to be an award given out at every chapter meeting called the PK Award.
We still have
Is that still around?
We still have
PK. That PK is Pat Kelly.
Really?
Yes.
The award is
gonna-
named after this man.
They're gonna love that one. So we didn't have meeting this week because a bunch of us went to the championship game on Monday.
Oh, sweet.
I
Nice.
can't wait to tell them that. That's gonna be great.
Yeah, that's for a different episode. Some of those stories.
Yeah, we've had some pretty wild ones.
Yep. Yeah, right, and you should. And yeah. Well,
That's awesome.
we'll tell the boys. PK says hello.
PK says I will for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us for episode number
Yeah.
67 of Checkered Shorts. And stay tuned for we got a lineup of some guest hosts and some more interviews. So this is a new wrinkle for us, but it's been a lot of fun. So thanks, Stephen, for joining us.
Thank you for having me,
you very
guys.
much.
All right. Thanks, Steven.